What is up, For Honor brothers and sisters? I've been too hyped, and I know you are for this new hero, so I had to do another one. And in this one, we're going to get into what characteristics these weapons could have in For Honor, starting in the order I saw them on the map. I'm shooting for the stars, hoping there's a stance for each one, but I do understand if we get only an execution for one like the Tanto, or feat use for another like the Sasumata, we have to deal with it. And that's where we'll start. The first weapon we ran across on the map is the Spear Fork / Sasumata, aka Man Catcher. If you're curious how this works, listen to this.
The Man Catcher is a unique weapon because its primary purpose is to catch or restrain an individual and not to kill him. So we can call this a tool because it's not really a weapon used for killing somebody.
So given we know that the Spear Fork is a disabling or detaining weapon and not for killing, I believe we can finally see another hero using this in a similar form to Nusha's traps, providing the opportunity to give you or a teammate a chance at another attack. I think knockdown may be a bit too much since you could get erased in team fights, but I definitely could see the trap mechanic provided to the new hero in some form here, and it would be highly welcomed. While the design may vary in the game versus what you see in the video, the purpose of the weapon doesn't. You can see here how Japanese security would use the weapon as a less violent measure of detainment. There's some clever ways this could be implemented while not feeling broken, so I look forward to see how this one in particular will turn out, considering my belief that a trap ability will be included. Keep in mind, as I go through these, I absolutely am looking for your opinions, as it'll be fun for all of us to look back and see how close any of us were to being right about these. But now we're going to move on to the next weapon encountered on the map, and that's the Kama or Sickle. An interesting fact on this weapon is this was used by low-ranked samurai because they didn't have the money for a katana, or in some cases they had to sell their katana. What was left was the Kama, because the Kama doubled as a farm tool. Now for the Kama, the possibility is therefore a deflect. That's what I'm thinking we could get if this was used as a stance. We know Shinobi has this capability, and this could be similar since attacks and counterattacks with this weapon must be swift. So if the hero did have a stance with the Kama, I would expect a confirmed deflect attack based on how the weapon is used in such a quick strike manner. Just because the hero is massive, which we believe this hero is going to be, it doesn't mean they can't have a deflect. And we haven't had a thick hero with a deflect yet. So let's get a thick hero with a deflect. And could this be the first? The next weapon we ran into was the mallet, or the Atsuchi. We can look no further than Yorm to see how this weapon can be used. We know the hero is a master of weapons, so we can expect some variation of animation reuse with some of these weapons. We're going to have to deal with it, y'all. And that's okay, because this is one of those weapons where it kind of makes sense, along with the Sickle, because a variant is already in the game. Maybe they surprise us, but the ability to displace an opponent with this weapon, if hit by it, like Yorm, is logical. But personally, I don't want to see that occur for this weapon for this hero. I would actually prefer this weapon to have uninterruptible on heavy finisher. Displacing can be put on a different weapon, and I'll talk about that shortly. The next weapon we ran into was the Tanto. The Tanto is a quick strike weapon that the samurai, and amongst others, could hide up their sleeves. The one they display on the map appears to be an Atsuchi Tanto. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, but this just means it doesn't have a guard. It made concealing it much more practical. The Tanto would have to be used to beat your opponent to an attack. Definitely see it being used as either a secondary attack during dual wielding of another weapon, or it's possible we only see this being used in a hero specific execution more so than a stance. I don't see the Tanto having any additional properties associated with it. I would like to see it used in a dual wielding fashion similar to PK, but with what weapon in the other hand? An iron staff or a war club, you know, whichever name you want to go with there. The Tanto is one of the weapons I'm least excited about, to be honest, but that's mainly because I don't think we're going to get too much creativity with this one. If anything, maybe the Tanto can be part of a weapon swap infinite chain that produces fire, and Zanhu will finally have something that complements his unique feats or something, you know, that's what I'm hoping for. I know I went way left on that, y'all. The next weapon we ran into on the map was a saw. First thing I thought of when I saw this weapon was I truly hope there is a bleed property associated with this weapon. But overall, I think the saw is the third most intriguing weapon out of the 7, with the Spear Fork and the Yari that we'll get to being above it in intrigue. Is it possible for the hero to have like a move similar to Asalato's hunting stance, where they use this particular weapon? Because Japanese saws cut on the pull stroke, so if no hyper armor is applied to the move, you still could be interrupted. I know it probably sounds impractical to do so since it would require the switching of weapons. This could also be a unique execution that allows you to showcase the weapon. The issue is I don't want just a unique execution. If I can execute with the weapon on my back, I want to be able to use it to some degree in the game outside of that. So I'm a little bit indifferent here on the application of it. I would like a hidden stance or a hunter stance ability for it. That would be cool. But what I'm not indifferent on is that I want to see a bleed property from this. Because we're talking about the master of weapons. If you're the master of weapons, that means you're going to have properties that we already have amongst the rest of the heroes that are in the game. The next weapon we ran into on the map was the Kanabo, or War Club. I've referred to this as the Iron Staff in previous videos, but I think Kanabo is more appropriate since a Kanabo is described as a weapon constructed out of heavy wood. However, I read they could be made out of iron, or tetsubo. Doesn't sound that far off either. The War Club was created to bludgeon through armor, and listening to that reason was why I think there is one property that would be perfect for the War Club. Listen to this.
Plenty of improvements to samurai armor were arising in Japan, and these war clubs were likely a great response to this, as percussive damage is able to bypass the hardness of armor through blunt force trauma.
I personally didn't want another unblockable added to the game, so I thought what could be different, but good at the same time. I thought, what about giving this War Club the displacing property? That would be okay because the mallet wouldn't have it. And it still makes sense given Afira's mace has the displacing property on specific heavies. But I thought no, because I want that on a different weapon, which you'll hear in a second. Also, what do you think about when you think of blunt force trauma? Y'all think of blunt force trauma. What do you think about? You think about getting your bell rung, right? I want the War Club to provide stun on finisher. Some of you might be groaning in your chair or wherever you are right now, but think about it. It's not as accessible as Raider's old stunning tap used to be, and the hero has all of these other tools we are discussing and brainstorming. I don't think it would be that bad. Well, possibly in a trolling 4-stack of the new hero, it could get excessive, but I don't think it would be that bad overall. The next weapon we ran into the map was the Yari. Yes, y'all, the Yari.
The most famous type of Japanese spear that would arise, the Yari. The shape and design of the typical Yari spear is believed to have originated during the 14th century and would in time come to surpass all of its long-reaching counterparts.
I do have a link to this entire video in the description where the shogunate discusses the evolution of samurai spears, so please go check it out when you get a chance if you haven't. There's excellent videos on that channel, especially if you're interested in the samurai and any lore behind it. I'm loving that we got the Yari up in here. Am I happy? Yes. Am I excited about it? Yes. If you've been following any of the new samurai hero videos that I've done, you'll know exactly why. But anyways, what we see here exactly is the Katakami Yari. And what we saw on the minion was the same Yari. These details, in my opinion, lets us know the primary weapon being wielded by the new hero will be the Yari. All the other weapons were on the attacker side, maybe alluding to more attacker-centric qualities that are behind them, while this weapon was found on the defender side, possibly alluding to the opposite. Which brings me to what characteristics I want to see on this weapon. Now, due to the construction of this Yari, it offers the ability to hook onto armor and clothing. Check this out so you know where I heard that from.
This here is a simple Su-Yari, and Su just means straight or simple, unadorned, just does the job. Behind me is a Jumonji Yari, which is like in the shape of 10, it's a cross shape, more for hooking on clothing and armor and things like that.
Knowing this, I want to see them add the property of pushback to the Yari, aka the ability to displace on heavy finisher. That would further distinguish it from Nobushi's Naginata and would give it its own character outside of being the double-edged blades. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on what they could do with the weapons, and I'm really interested to hear your opinions on this. What properties would you like to see on each weapon for the Master of Weapons Samurai hero we are getting? I tell y'all what though, this hero reveal could be one of the best ever based on how they are advertising it and everything they're doing building up to it, or it could be an incredible letdown. But I'm not tempering my expectations based on what they presented, y'all. I'm expecting something unlike anything we've seen before in a positive way. But that's all I got for this one. I'll catch y'all in the comments and after the reveal and release as Benkei gets a name and story in the For Honor universe, y'all. It should be special. I'm fired up, man. I'm so ready for this. Until next time, peace.